All right, and here we go. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for Networks Live on Demand. I'm Liz Jones, the Blue Star Family's operations manager. If you're joining us via the Zoom platform and you have a question for Audrey, you can ask it using our question and answer box or the chat feature, either or. If you're joining us via Facebook Live and you have a question, just put it in the comments and I'll make sure that I bring it forward to Audrey. So today we have Audrey Fairbrother with Worldwide 101. She's a marketing manager and a former military Army spouse. She's going to talk to us about some scams and how to avoid them and what to look out for. So, hi Audrey, did I forget anything?
No, I think you covered it all. Yeah, I've been with Worldwide 101 5 years, and we're really passionate about helping people find legitimate remote positions. So I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Worldwide 101? And I'm going to pull up the thing, so go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. Worldwide 101 is a premium subscription staffing company. What we do is we match founders, executives, entrepreneurs, business owners with talented remote professionals. We focus in the areas of executive assistance, marketing, project management, bookkeeping. Those are kind of our main areas that people approach us for remote help. We have gotten really great at making those matches. And yeah, I'm excited to just kind of, oh yeah, you got our page up here. So feel free to learn more about us on that page. Got some good information on there.
Definitely. If you do want to find out more about Worldwide 101, I recommend just going to their website and kind of poking around a little bit and seeing. So when you say subscription service, is it a subscription service for a military spouse or is it for a for somebody who wants to post jobs?
Yeah, that's strictly on the client side. So it's when a client comes to us, they sign up with a monthly subscription plan of ours, depending on the type of help they need and how much. For our team are actually all employees, W-2 employees. So for them, it's just a way for them to know they're going to work with that client for the long term, have some insight into what their schedule looks like and their hours. But the subscription part of things is solely on the client side. When you come join our team, you're just an employee.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks. Okay. I do want to jump into like the whole scammy process about, finding remote work. I mean, we were just talking about some stats, and can you tell everyone what those stats are?
Yeah, it's really crazy. So we're a partner with FlexJobs, and I got this stat from them, but for every legitimate remote job that's posted, there are 60 to 70 scams that are also out there. So you really have to do your due diligence, and I know we'll talk about that, but avoiding those scams and making sure you don't fall for them. Some of them are really advanced, so it's not as easy as it used to be to avoid them. So we've got some good tips on kind of how you can do that.
Oh, excellent. Yes. I think that's one of the things for military spouses is that because we're always kind of looking for something that fits into our role, it's that whole scam thing. If you could think of like the number one scam that is out there, what's a good one to avoid? I mean, avoid them all, but
right. I would say, so there's been a lot on LinkedIn recently where people will actually reach out to you on LinkedIn Messenger about a position that sounds really legitimate. I've seen a lot of it be executive assistance based. So they'll reach out to people who have executive assistant type experience on their LinkedIn profile. And they say like, I'm a professional in this area. I really want an executive assistant. And they kind of get you started in a conversation, but they'll pull out your personal information from that conversation. So that is kind of my first warning sign for avoiding remote scams is exactly that. If someone reaches out to you, be especially wary. It can happen, especially on LinkedIn. If you have a great profile, you might get someone who's interested in you. But remote jobs are really in demand. And if you have someone that's kind of approaches you out of the blue, you've never heard of the company, and they're trying to kind of get into a conversation where they want personal information, even if it's as basic as your name or address, that is the first sign that you need to be doing further research and that it might be something that's a little bit scammy. So just be hesitant if someone reaches out to you directly about a position that they're looking to fill, especially if they say, I want to fill this really quickly, or putting pressure on you time-wise.
Mm-hmm. I do remember somebody told me a long time ago that if they ever ask you for money for a job, that it's probably not legitimate.
Right, exactly. You should never have to pay anything to work for someone. So that is, yeah, they'll work up to that too if they like get you really hooked in, get some personal information from you, take a lot of your time and get you interested. They'll make the ask. All you have to do is send us $50 for equipment fees or something, and automatic red flag that it just shouldn't be happening.
All right. I actually do have a question that came in
Yeah.
via email that I wanted to bring forward. It says, how can a qualified, skilled candidate gain insight as to why they are not selected for a position they applied for?
It's a good question, and great for military spouses if we're applying to a lot of jobs and we just don't know why we're not getting responses. It might not even be the things that we think, which is like, we've had a couple years here and a couple years there. I think the best way to approach it is to track down the hiring manager for that company. If you haven't interacted with them on email, you could probably find them on LinkedIn or their website, and just send an email, reach out and say, hey, I applied to this position. Be really respectful. Obviously, you don't want to approach it in a way that sounds like, why didn't you hire me? But just about learning more. So I'd love to know if there's anything I could do to improve my application in the future. Were there certain skills I was missing? A lot of times I've seen recruitment managers take the time to respond to that and really just appreciate that you're reaching out about it. So I think that's the best way to kind of figure out what you might be able to do to make your next application for that company stand out better, or, if you're applying for future jobs, what other skills you might need.
Yeah, I think that was the second part of the question, as far as like what training or skill set might be missing. If you're applying for a remote position and it turns out, well, this probably is across the board, any remote or virtual or flexible or even a brick and mortar position. If you apply for it and you don't hear anything back or they decline it, I mean, what can it hurt to ask?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
but they may or may not get back to you, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, the worst they can do is not get back to you, but it's always worth that ask.
Right, exactly. Is there anything that you kind of wanted to talk about and bring forward?
Yeah, just some more tips on kind of how you can avoid these scams, because it's such a problem, and it really stinks that military spouses are targeted for these things, because they know that we need flexibility and that we need and that remote positions are great for us. I'd say just another thing to look out for, because they can sometimes make their way onto sites that you think are legitimate. So making sure that you're looking for these jobs in really legitimate places is a big, it'll save you a lot of time, I guess, first of all, a lot of heartache, and grammar and spelling and those things matter for, companies that are legitimate. If their communications with you are just a little fishy, or they're not using proper terms, or they're refusing to give you a video interview, or there are just so many little things. So trusting your gut, I guess, overall is another big way that you can just avoid scams. If something seems a little off, you just need to kind of push more. Don't be scared to push a little bit. Companies that are legitimate aren't going to shy away from that. They understand the scams that are out there. So trusting your gut, being pushy, doing your research, checking out their reviews and their website, and making sure that everything is there and they have an online presence is another really great way that you're going to avoid being a victim of a scam.
When you're just looking for remote or virtual work, where are some places that you can look?
Yeah, like our partners, we partner with Flex Jobs, which is a great site. It's a paid site, but they vet all their jobs. So you know that you're not going to be running into remote work scams on there. So if you're really into your hunt and it's taking you a while, it's worth paying for the plan, in my opinion, to not have to deal with wondering if they're remote scams. Remote.co is another really great one that we suggest to people. And then Blue Star Families, obviously, and some of the other sites that are military spouse specific are going to be great because they're going to be more legitimate companies that have partnered with these organizations to bring really great jobs to military spouses. The Military Spouse Employment Partnership is another really great one. I know you guys are part of that, and we are as well. And they have jobs on their site for actual companies who have made a commitment to hire military spouses. So that is another great place to start.
Yeah, if you look at those organizations or like those places, it's pretty much set that that won't be a scam. I know Blue Star Families, we definitely look very closely at anything that we've posted through our spouse force vetting process, our spouse force profile. So it's more or less the fact of going with what you trust and what you know.
Exactly. Yeah, some of these sites, if they use the words like easy work from home positions or find a quick work from home position, we find those are usually, I mean, there might be some great positions on there, but they're usually a little bit more hard to find and a little bit more low quality than what you can expect from a trusted resource, say.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. And it's hard. It really is tough. Because some opportunities, they sound so great. And then you kind of, once you get into it, realize that, I mean, even with our company, with Worldwide 101, we've heard from our team members, I thought it was too good to be true. And I'm glad I applied. But at first, you know, you just don't know. And so that's why it's important to, if it does sound like a great job and it sounds maybe too good to be true, like still look into it, still research the company, and maybe it's just a great fit for you, but you need to make sure that you're doing that due diligence on the front end so you don't get pulled into anything that's bad or that scams you out of personal information or money or all the terrible things that come along with remote work scams, unfortunately.
Yeah. I always think that, you know, when I think of scams, I always think of like having to give money and not getting anything in return. But then, like, you're right, personal information is just as valuable as like money, if not more.
Yeah.
So, kind of always looking out for like, is that question legit? Why are they asking me that?
Exactly.
I kind of just, I know that we were kind of just talking about like just plowing through the junk and the scams and like looking through, like, what's one of your best tips that you have for somebody who is applying for something that's remote? You know, what's the number one thing that you should highlight or you should talk about in, you know, either your cover letter or sending, you know, first line of your resume, your statement, your objective?
Yeah, I think remote work requires some different skill sets. So there are some great things you can hire to or highlight to set yourself apart. I think a huge one is communication skills for remote companies. If you're working remote, you need to be doubly great at communicating verbally and written because you're not going to be in the office where you have that face-to-face where you can read body language, and missing out on some of that can be hard. So, you know, if you are communicating back and forth with a hiring manager, make sure all of your communications are really clear and you've made all your points really, really solid. That's kind of one way you can highlight that you have great communication skills besides just saying I have great communication skills. If you're certified in any type of like public speaking or anything like that, highlight that on your resume because that also highlights it. I think that's probably the number one thing as a remote organization that you're going to look for in an employee, because you need to know that they're going to be able to represent themselves well, represent your clients well in a remote capacity.
Yeah, I think about that often because I mean, with Blue Star Families, we are virtual, we are remote. We have people all over the country and actually all over the world. And sometimes, like when you're writing that email, you think, ooh, maybe that came across wrong. That's not what I meant. But yeah, definitely like the communication skills. And that's kind of what keeps us going, is that we all communicate with each other. We have team meetings and we talk to each other, and that helps tremendously in the long run. So I definitely believe that that's probably a skill that can be highlighted when you're looking at a remote position and trying to kind of find where you fit.
Totally. Yeah. And it's not, yeah, like you said, it's not even just the content, it's the emotion behind it. It's sometimes you write an email and then you read it and you're like, oh gosh, that sounds really harsh, or like, oh, it sounds too, uppity. So you have to think about those things and go the extra step of kind of planning out the best way to communicate things. We always say over communication is standard communication at Worldwide 101, because that's just kind of the baseline that we use. And we really try to stick to that because it does make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of reading things maybe once, twice, 3 times before setting that off. Oh, we have a question.
Nice.
Oh my God. I'm going to stop sharing this so I can grab this question.
Yeah.
The question is, what's the best way to sort for jobs online that you have experience and education for?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of these sites that we mentioned have great filters. So you can go in, I know FlexJobs has it, I think Military Spouse Employment Partnership has it, I don't know if Blue Star Families does as well, but you can actually filter, the type of position you're looking for, if it's remote or not, which is a great one for people looking for remote work. How much experience you have, so it can sort by experience level. So really trying to use those filters in the best way on some of those really great legitimate sites is going to help you narrow, because there are, like we said, millions and millions of remote positions out there, and a lot of them are unfortunately not legitimate. So yeah, find out the best way to use those filters.
Yeah, definitely. Well, since part of the question is, what about Blue Star Families?
Yeah.
You learn about possible positions they have. I can take that twofold. If you want to know about Blue Star Families in general, obviously our website, and then it says we have a careers thing where you can kind of look and see what Blue Star Families has available. But we also have a website where we are like accumulating, and it's not live as far as I know yet, but we're accumulating employers who have come to us and said, hey, we're interested in hiring military spouses. Like, either sometimes it's not, all virtual, it's not all work from home, and it's not all remote. So if you go to Blue Star Families Spouse Force and then fill out your profile, then you'll have access into that information. So, and I'm not plugging Spouse Force here. I am plugging Spouse Force. Good question.
It's helpful.
The question was asked, but yeah, definitely like the online searching. I feel like that's a huge deal, because most of the time when you're remote, that's what you're going to do. I mean, I don't know of anyone nowadays that goes to like a newspaper to look for a job. Also as far as like networking and, knowing where you are and kind of feeling out the community and seeing what's available. Yeah. But definitely sites like Worldwide 101 or FlexJobs or Instant Teams or any of those organizations that are military affiliated are always going to kind of have your back and do that pre-vetting already for you, so you don't get caught up in that scam.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Question.
That was a good question. Thank you. Anything else?
Is there more? Let me see.
Is there another one?
Oh, no, I thought I saw that. Awesome.
Oh, no, it doesn't look like it. Well, I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time, and I know that we're only scheduled for, about 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything that you want to add.
Yeah, I would just echo what you said. Make sure you're looking at, Blue Star Families, military affiliated sites. Worldwide 101 is a huge advocate for military spouses, and we're actually hiring as well. And I know you have the URL up. So it was worldwide101.com/Blue Star Families. And if you're interested in a position, we do look for people that have 7 years of experience. Doesn't have to be consecutive because in military spouse life, it often is not. But we're hiring for executive assistants, project managers, marketers, bookkeepers. So if you know anyone that's looking for something legitimate, doesn't want to kind of start a huge search, definitely send us or send them our way. And that can help to narrow it down for sure. But yeah, I guess just to wrap it up, the basic bottom line for avoiding remote scams is to trust your gut, do your research, and use legitimate resources. If you follow those 3 guidelines, you're probably going to be safe. And as sad as it is, it's still happening all the time. So be really diligent. They're not going anywhere. They're not slowing down as far as targeting us, and they continue to kind of revamp their methods. So I think those are timeless ways to avoid being caught up in the scams.
And never give them money.
No, don't give them any money.
For $50, you are not going to get that job.
That's right.
Somebody told me that so long ago. They were like, don't ever give them money. I was like,
I know, it's so hard.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Audrey, so much for being here. And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I can be contacted at ljones@bluestarfam.org. And if you have questions for Audrey, you can send them to my email, and I'll make sure that she gets them.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Liz.
Thanks, Audrey.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Okay, bye.